Vegetarianism amongst early Christians helped to avert a split in the church. Paul's response can help us avoid analogous problems today. Paul devoted almost 3 chapters to this issue in his letters to Corinth and Rome. The problem was caused by meat sold in markets, because these carcasses were most likely from the various temples in the city. Paul recognized that Jesus made food laws irrelevant, and he could see that an idol is nothing. So Paul only refused meat if he'd been specifically told that it had been offered to an idol. His attitude was, don't ask, just eat, because it all comes from God. But what if you are at a meal with other Christians and someone says, that meat has been offered to an idol? In that case, Paul says you should act completely differently for the sake of their conscience. If you simply go ahead and eat the meat, they might think that you don't mind worshipping an idol. Surely this is hypocrisy. Paul says he's merely limiting his freedom for the sake of his fellow believer, who might stumble in his faith if he doesn't. He even says that this is his attitude in other things too. I try to please everyone in every way, for I am not seeking my own good, but the good of many, so that they will be saved. He gives 3 reasons for his change in behaviour, which suggests the kind of situations where he would bend in this way. First of all, it might lead them into sin. He warns the Corinthians, if you think you're standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. He reminds them that others too got too close to idolatry and fell into sexual immorality, especially if they were eating meat in a pagan temple, as some of them were doing. Secondly, it might bring the gospel into disrepute. If someone saw Christians eating idol offerings, they might think they were idol worshippers. Paul says this might hinder others from being saved. And thirdly, it might cause others to sin. If other believers saw them, they might think it's okay to worship idols and fall into that sin themselves. There are many similar situations in the modern church where some believers have scruples about something that others don't share. Here's a couple of examples: clubbing and Halloween. If a believer goes clubbing, someone might wrongly conclude that they're also sleeping around. If a believer joins in with Halloween celebrations, someone might wrongly conclude that they support witchcraft or Satanism. To test whether to do these things, we can ask the same 3 questions that Paul highlighted. Might it lead me into sin? Might it bring the gospel into disrepute? Might it cause others to sin? If we go clubbing, it might be misunderstood, as we might be seen by someone who doesn't know us well, and especially if our mode of dress reinforces their conclusions. And in some cases, it might actually lead us into sin. Halloween is rather different, because wearing a witch's hat doesn't mean we want to be one. However, it might imply that Christians don't take the evil one seriously. The issue of meat offered to idols has little relevance to us today. However, Paul's discussion of the issue provides us with some really useful guidelines to work in a variety of issues that do affect us today. If we skip over these chapters because the issue is no longer relevant, we miss the really valuable teaching that provides guidance for all kinds of situations. God bless.